Hey everyone, and welcome back to Retro Rewind. It's Doug here, and I'm ready to fire up the metaphorical DeLorean and jump back in time.
And I'm Kristen, ready to navigate the pixelated past with you.
Today we're cracking open a really special one-issue number 5 of Nintendo Power magazine. This covers the months of March and April 1989.
1989, wow, yeah. That feels like a lifetime ago, but, in the world of the NES, it was peak time. The console wasn't new anymore. It was absolutely dominating households, and players were getting, really serious about their games.
Totally. This issue lands at a point where we're not just excited about any new game, but we're getting deep into the complex ones and starting to see the next wave of innovation on the horizon.
Right.
Our mission for this Retro Rewind is to dive headfirst into issue #5. We want to uncover the hidden gems, the crucial tips, the community buzz, and really understand what was front and center for a dedicated Nintendo player over 35 years ago.
And issue 5 brings some big guns. We continue our journey through the notoriously challenging world of Zelda Tonight, the adventure of Link. There's a massive feature on the equally brutal but incredibly stylish Ninja Gaiden. We get excited about previews for some major upcoming titles, and this issue introduces something brand new that would become a defining feature of the magazine: the official Nintendo Power rating system.
That's right. Okay, let's peel back the pages and see what treasures issue #5 holds.
So right off the bat, the welcome message on page 3 feels like Nintendo Power is hitting its stride. They say they're settling in and promise to deliver tips, strategies, humor, and surprises in every issue.
Yeah, you can feel them getting comfortable with the format after those first few issues. They specifically call out some major features in this issue too, making sure you know what you're in for.
One big one is the CES report. That's the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. Back then, this was the place for major tech and gaming announcements. Seeing what was unveiled there was huge news.
Absolutely. It was the main pipeline for what was coming next. They also highlight the results of the Nintendo Power Awards '88. This is cool because it's reader voted, showing us which games truly resonated with the audience the previous year.
You get a real pulse of what people were playing. And as you mentioned, the debut of the Power rating system. This was significant. Nintendo Power was going to start giving games their own score.
Big change.
Yeah.
Beyond those features, the table of contents lays out all the familiar sections. Players' forum for reader letters and questions, the all-important top 30 list based on player votes,
Yep.
Pack Watch for upcoming game news, NES Achievers for high scores, and of course the legendary classified information section packed with codes and secrets.
It's a really comprehensive issue covering a huge range of games. You have the deep dives into the really complex or difficult titles that demanded extensive guides, but also shorter looks and tips for dozens of other games, catering to every kind of NES player out there.
Okay, let's unpack this. The first big feature continues the saga we started in the last issue, Zelda 2. The Adventure of Link, covering pages 8 through 14. Link's quest is getting serious now.
Oh, Zelda 2. This game was such a departure from the original, wasn't it? The side-scrolling combat, the RPG leveling system, the notorious difficulty. It really threw a lot of players for a loop. Having a guide for this wasn't a luxury. For many, it felt like a necessity to make progress.
I remember playing Zelda 2 with my dad. We'd pore over maps, try to figure out where to go, which enemy was blocking our path. It felt less like a casual game and more like a full-blown expedition. Seeing this section of the magazine just brings all that back. This issue picks up Link's quest and starts by detailing items Link must have.
Right, these aren't just any items. These are crucial for survival or progression. They show and describe the 1-up, which looks like a miniature jumping Link. Simple function, but getting an extra life in a game this tough was always a moment of, pure relief.
Definitely needed those. Then there's the fairy. It's a small flying sprite. Catching one, either in the overworld or sometimes hitting palaces, fully restores your life meter. A literal lifesaver.
Magic is absolutely vital in Zelda 2, perhaps more so than in the first game. They show the magic container, which looks like a small jar with glowing liquid. Collecting one permanently increases your magic meter, allowing you to cast more powerful spells or use them more frequently. Conserving magic became a strategic layer to the game.
And the classic heart container, shaped like a heart, which permanently adds 1 block to your life meter. You needed every single one you could find to stand a chance against some of the later enemies and bosses.
They also detail the treasure bag, a small pouch. Picking these up gives Link experience points. This is how you level up your stats: attack, magic, and life. Every bit of EXP counted.
Finally, they show Bagoo. He's depicted as an old man with a staff. The guide identifies him as an important character. Link needs to meet in the King's Tomb area to progress the story or get crucial information.
The guide then highlights important locations on a map of Eastern Hyrule. They pinpoint where you can find hidden magic containers scattered across the landscape.
They also mark goddess statues. These function as checkpoints where you can save your game, and praying at them fully restores your life. Very important saves.
Absolutely. And fairy locations are marked, showing places where you can heal up quickly on the map.
The King's Tomb is clearly marked as the place to find Bagu, and red jars are shown. These are specific spots that give Link experience points, essential for grinding levels. These maps weren't just window dressing, they were functional guides to essential resources.
Totally functional. Having these maps laid out would save hours of just wandering aimlessly.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk palaces, because that's where the real challenge kicked in. The guide walks through the 5th palace. The magazine provides a map showing its layout, a series of interconnected rooms built from blue and purple blocks.
And it gives you the strategy for the boss, Guma. Guma is this large, imposing creature swinging a massive spiked ball. The guide tells you to protect a statue in the room, which adds an objective beyond just hitting the boss, and describes the tactic: ducking under his swinging ball and then getting in slashes with your sword when he's vulnerable. It required timing and patience.
Right next to that, they have the Experience Wanted section. This section is crucial for understanding the RPG side of Zelda 2. It explains that defeating enemies gives Link experience points, which are spent to raise his 3 stats: attack, how much damage you deal; magic, how much your spells cost; and life, how much damage you can take.
They even show a little chart illustrating the points required for the next level up, noting it increases from 500 points needed initially up to 800 points shown here. It emphasized that leveling up was a significant part of preparing for tougher areas. You had to grind.
Then you move on to the 6th palace, ominously titled A Dragon's Maze. The magazine notes this palace is 7 levels deep, which immediately tells you it's going to be a vertical and complex challenge.
And it explicitly states the necessity of using magic spells to get through this one. The spells mentioned are Fairy, which would turn Link into a small fairy, allowing him to pass through narrow openings.
Right.
Jump, increasing his jump height for tricky platforming. Reflect, likely for bouncing back enemy projectiles. And Shield, boosting his defense to take less damage. Knowing which spell was needed where and managing your magic points was vital.
The magazine provides a map layout for the 6th palace as well, showing the multi-level structure, platforms, and key locations. It looks like a real puzzle box.
And the boss strategy for Barba, the dragon, is detailed. Barba is a fire-breathing dragon that emerges from lava pits. The strategy involves staying on the middle blocks in the room to avoid the lava and attacking Barba when he surfaces. That visual of the dragon rising from the depths was pretty intimidating in 8-bit.
Oh yeah, they also single out the pit. This refers to a specific area where if you fall off a platform, you don't just land on the floor below. You fall through multiple screens downwards, often landing in a dangerous spot or losing significant progress. It was a real test of precision platforming.
The pit. The Zelda 2 section wraps up by outlining the 9 steps to the Great Talus. This is essentially a checklist of everything Link must accomplish to finally reach the game's final dungeon and confront the ultimate evil. It involves beating all 6 palaces, obtaining certain items, leveling up stats to a sufficient degree, and navigating the final treacherous areas of Hyrule shown on an overview map.
Wow, looking at this whole guide for Zelda 2, especially the maps and specific boss strategies, I can't help but think back to trying to figure this game out bit by bit with my dad. We got stuck so many times. For any of you out there who played Zelda 2, maybe with family or friends, how utterly crucial would this detailed guide have been for getting past these later palaces, solving the puzzles, and figuring out Guma or Barba? Getting lost in the pit or not knowing how to handle an iron knuckle felt like game over before you even fought a boss? This magazine was the internet walkthrough of its day.
It absolutely was. It provided the structure and specific information that the game itself often didn't give you explicitly. It turned frustrating roadblocks into solvable puzzles, provided you had the magazine.
All right, from one legendarily difficult game to another, let's shift gears to the massive feature on Ninja Gaiden, spanning pages 20 through 30. The magazine introduces it as an action mystery thriller.
Ninja Gaiden was a game that combined incredibly challenging action platforming with a surprisingly compelling story told through those cinema displays. For the NES era, having animated cutscenes that advanced a narrative like this was pretty groundbreaking, made the game feel more cinematic.
It really did, and the magazine straight up suggests you rent before you buy, which tells you everything you need to know about the game's reputation for difficulty right there.
Exactly. They break down the game mechanics, starting with the basics of how you play, moving Ryu Hayabusa and attacking with his katana.
Then they get into the signature ninja skills. The wall spring is essential, allowing you to jump off walls to gain height or cross wide gaps. And the well spring is the advanced technique, basically continuously wall springing between two close walls to climb vertical shafts. Mastering these was key to survival and progression.
The guide also details the ninja items you collect. Ninja power is the currency for using your secondary weapons. Bonus items give you points or temporary power-ups. The time limit adds precious seconds to the clock, which was necessary because the levels were timed. And repair physical strength restores your health, which you needed constantly. They show the icons: shurikens for power, a red pot for bonus, a stopwatch for time, and a cross for health.
The feature walks through the initial acts. Act 1 is called Destiny, Area 1 is Galesburg. It sets up the story with Ryu's father being killed, sending Ryu on his mission. The magazine provides a map of this starting area.
Act 2 is The Escape, covering Area 1 Outpost, Area 2 Death Valley, and Area 3 Amira's Altar. The story introduces a mysterious woman who becomes central to the plot. Maps are shown for these stages. They also highlight the area guard for Act 2, Bomberhead, who looks like a large man in a mask wielding a spiked flail. He was a tough early mini-boss.
Act 3 is The Chase, featuring Area 1, Crystal Lake, Area 2, Blizzard Mountains, and Area 3, Yomi's Cave. The narrative delves deeper, involving Dr. Smith and the introduction of demonic enemies. More maps are provided. Bomberhead returns as an area guard, and the boss for Act 3 is Bonzek, a fiery demon who throws fireballs.
The guide also lists Ryu's ninja arsenal, his weapons like the basic katana, throwing star, and the more advanced Mahakala's spell, scroll, and cham. It also lists the ninja know-how, which refers to the magic scrolls granting him special abilities or attacks, like the art of ram's throwing or Konoha Gakur. Knowing which sub-weapon or ninja art was best for a given situation was a big part of the strategy.
The article gives shorter blurbs for the later acts. Act 4, A Trap, Act 5, Mortal Kombat, and Act 6, The Fall of the Demon. It notes how the story dramatically shifts from a quest for revenge to confronting powerful demons and uncovering a conspiracy involving ancient evils.
Ninja Gaiden. Oh man. I tried playing this with my older brother back in the day, and we never, ever beat it. It was just so incredibly difficult. Those jumps, the constant enemies, the bosses, it felt relentless. For any of you who battled through Ninja Gaiden, does seeing these maps, descriptions of the wall jumping, or the bosses like Bomberhead or Bonzek bring back memories of that struggle? What part broke you? This guide, showing level layouts and item locations, would have been absolutely essential just to understand what you were supposed to do next and prepare for the onslaught.
It really was a game that demanded precision and memorization, and these maps were the key to the memorization part. Without them, you were just throwing yourself against a wall of difficulty blindly.
Moving to a game that was maybe slightly more forgiving on the frustration front, pages 31 through 34 cover Hudson's Adventure Island. This follows Master Higgins and his quest to rescue Princess Leilani.
Adventure Island had that really unique hook, the energy bar. It constantly depletes, and you have to keep collecting food items like fruit, vegetables, and meat to keep it from running out. If it hits zero, you lose a life. It added this layer of constant pressure to every level.
It wasn't enough to just survive the enemies and platforming, you had to manage your hunger. The guide details the items Master Higgins can find. The main weapon is the stone axe, which he throws in an arc. A fantastic find is the skateboard. Not only does it speed you up significantly, but it acts as a shield, protecting you from one hit before you lose it.
Oh yeah, the skateboard is awesome. Other food and bonus items are listed: honey girl, flour, milk, and squirrel. These give varying amounts of points and, crucially, replenish your energy meter. Finding a large piece of meat felt like hitting the jackpot.
The magazine provides details and maps for Area 1, Round 1, and Area 2, Rounds 1 through 4. It shows the different segments and challenges within these early areas.
A really cool tip they highlight is how to find the hidden bonus stage. This involves hitting certain objects in specific locations, often eggs, multiple times, kick the egg, until they reveal the path to a secret area filled with tons of food and points. A vital strategy for keeping your energy up and racking up score.
They list some of the leading characters, which are the enemies you face, along with their point values. You see classics like the walking snail, bouncing corn on the cob, various frogs, fire enemies called fire, and ice enemies called ice.
And they show the bosses for the first two areas. King Genie for Area 1, a large red genie who throws fireballs, and Twin Heads for Area 2, a two-headed creature. The guide gives brief pointers, like needing to use the stone axe on King Genie.
That constant energy drain really defined Adventure Island. It was a race against the clock and the enemies. The maps and tips on finding bonus areas would be essential for maximizing your food collection and making it to the end of each round.
Okay, let's take a spin through some of the other game spotlights and previews packed into this issue. Pages 76 through 80 have the video shorts section, which gives us quick glimpses of various upcoming or recent releases.
This section was always a fun grab bag, showing off games across all sorts of genres.
They feature California Games from Milton Bradley. It's a multi-event game focused on laid-back California sports. Surfing, skateboarding, bicycling, roller skating, footbag, hacky sack,
and flying disc, yeah. It sounds like a fun, casual collection.
Then there's Taboo, The Sixth Sense. This one is truly unique and outside the box, by Iron Tradequist. It's literally a game based on tarot cards and fortune-telling. You ask a question, lay out a spread using virtual tarot cards, and the game gives you a reading. On the NES, it's fascinating that something like this even existed.
How do you even rate a tarot card game on the NES power rating system? That's wild.
Right. They also preview Desert Commander by Kinko Seika, described as a military strategy game with tanks, fighters, and helicopters on a map. The mention of a two-player option for a strategy game on the NES is cool.
We also see Mappyland from Taxon, a cute platformer about Mappy the Mouse rescuing his friends, and Airwolf from Acclaim, an action game based on the popular helicopter TV show. A real mix there.
Pages 44 and 45 highlight Cobra Triangle, a speedboat game where you navigate treacherous waters. It mentions collecting power-up options like fire, speed, missile, and force for your boat. The guide notes a bonus stage, and that your past choices in the game affect the order of the stages you play.
Konami's Bayou Billy gets a good feature on pages 46 through 51. This game is interesting because it mixes several different gameplay styles. You have hand-to-hand fighting stages, shooting stages, and even driving stages.
And for the shooting stages, it explicitly mentions the option to use the NES Zapper peripheral, the light gun. That fundamentally changed those sections, making them feel like an arcade shooting gallery. It really added variety to the game.
A really big preview on pages 52 through 55 is for the upcoming Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. The characters were huge in 1989, so this was a highly anticipated release.
Oh yeah, massive. They introduced the four turtles and their signature weapons. Leonardo with his katana, Raphael with his sai, Michelangelo with his nunchaku, and Donatello with his bow staff.
The game uses two main screen types: a bird's-eye view map for navigating the city between levels, and the standard action screen for the platforming and combat stages. Items shown include sub-weapons like the boomerang, star, triple stars, and a scroll. And of course, pizza is the crucial food for restoring health. It's TMNT. It had to be pizza.
It had to be. The magazine shows maps for Area 1 and Area 2. Area 2 famously includes a notorious underwater section where you have to plant bombs under a dam. The guide points out the difficulty of this part, noting the time limit and barriers.
That damn level.
Right. The mechanic of switching between the turtles, each with different stats and weapon ranges, is highlighted as key strategy, especially for tackling different environmental challenges like that underwater level. That dam level was the source of much NES player frustration back then.
It was infamous. Finally, there's a brief mention on page 41 of Strider, described as a sci-fi detective game emphasizing skill and running. Another promising action title on the horizon.
This issue really gives you a sense of the breadth of games coming out from massive licensed properties like TMNT and Disney, which we'll hear about in Packwatch.
Right.
To unique curiosities like Taboo and genre mixers like Bayou Billy.
Absolutely. It felt like developers were really experimenting with the hardware at this point, trying different things.
All right, let's move into the regular sections that were the backbone of the magazine. The Players Forum on pages 6 and 7 was always a direct line to the readers.
This is where players could write in with questions, share tips, debate strategies, or just express their love for games. The Problem Solve segment featured advice straight from the Nintendo game counselors who were on the phones helping players. For example, they have tips here for Bionic Commando, like how to get past specific screens or find hidden items using your bionic arm.
Readers also submitted artwork for The Art of Playing, I remember seeing things like clay figures of Mario characters or drawings of Link, and there were letters discussing gameplay itself, like one here comparing Bionic Commando, Double Dragon, and Zelda 2nd, and how they encouraged critical thinking. It's cool to see players reflecting on the design of games.
Totally. They also announced the winners of the Players' Poll contest from the Novdeck issue. The grand prize was a trip to Disneyland. Imagine winning that just for voting for your favorite games.
Amazing. Next up, pages 88 through 92 feature the Nintendo Power Awards 88. This was the result of the reader voting we mentioned earlier, celebrating the best games of the past year according to the players.
They had 8 categories covering different aspects of the gaming experience. Best graphics and sound, best challenge, best theme fun, best play control, best character, best ending, best player vs. player, and the ultimate award, overall.
The nominees list for overall is practically a Hall of Famer for 1988. Zelda 2S, The Adventure of Link, The Legend of Zelda, Golgo 13, Super Mario Bros. 2, Mega Man, Double Dragon, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Metroid, Blaster Master, and Bionic Commando. That tells you exactly what players were hooked on that year.
Looking at these awards, the categories, and the nominees, you get a real sense of what players valued back then. Things like challenge and play control were clearly paramount, alongside strong characters and themes. It's a great snapshot of the year in NES gaming.
And a truly significant new addition makes its debut on page 95, the Power Rating System.
This is brand new for issue 5. Nintendo Power started assigning official ratings to games based on 4 specific criteria they felt were most important: graphics and sound, challenge, play control, and theme fun.
They use a simple visual system, a bar graph, showing a score from 1 to 5 for each of the 4 categories. From this issue forward, games reviewed or featured would have these ratings.
It's important to remember these were Nintendo's own ratings, based on their staff's assessment. They do explicitly state in the magazine that they encourage readers to form their own opinions, but it was Nintendo's attempt to give players a quick, quantifiable snapshot of a game's strengths and weaknesses.
The top 30 list on pages 70 and 71 remain a staple. This is the ranking of the most popular games based purely on the number of player votes they received.
The top 10 in this issue are 1. Super Mario Bros. 2. Zelda 2. The Adventure of Link. 3. The Legend of Zelda. 4. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! 5. Contra 6. Castlevania Tekken. Simon's Quest. 7. Bionic Commando. 8. Blaze of Steel. 9. Double Dragon. 10. Metroid.
Super Mario Bros. Celia was still the undisputed king, holding that number 1 spot. But Zelda the Second climbing to number 2 shows just how many players were diving into that sequel's challenging world. It's fascinating to track how this list shifts issue by issue as new games capture attention and players spend more time with existing ones.
They also included separate smaller lists for players' picks, individual player favorites, press's picks from other media, and dealers' picks, retailer perspectives, sometimes showing interesting differences in opinion.
The NES Achievers section on pages 98 and 99 was all about celebrating players who accomplished impressive feats, primarily high scores or completing challenging games.
It's really inspiring to see what players were achieving even without easy access to online guides. They list high scores for games like 1943, Arkanoid, Castlevania, Bionic Commando, and Zelda 2.
What stands out here is how many players are listed as having finished Zelda 2nd, despite us just discussing how incredibly difficult it is and how much help the magazine provided. It shows the dedication players had to see a game through to the end. People were putting in serious hours.
Serious hours. The Pack Watch section, pages 100 through 104, was our crystal ball into the future. This was where you found news about games that were still in development.
This issue's Pack Watch includes news from the CES show they mentioned earlier, straight from Vegas.
There's big news. From Capcom, they announced they were developing 3 Disney games based on popular properties: Adventures in Disneyland, Rescue Rangers, and DuckTales. That was huge news for a lot of kids and adults who love those characters. Licensed games based on popular cartoons were a major draw.
Oh, absolutely. DuckTales especially.
They also feature new Power Pad games. Those were games designed specifically for the physical Power Pad accessory. This issue highlights Street Cop and Athletic World.
Arcade Alley previews. Arcade games that were being ported to the NES, bringing coin-op hits into your home. Bad Dudes, Gyruss, Liala Warrior, and Thunder Race.
And even Pinball Alley, featuring pinball machines being adapted for the NES, Pinbot, Rollerball, and something called Super Sushi Pinball. The variety is just fantastic.
Super Sushi Pinball. Okay. The Gossip Galore section is always fun, teasing a bunch of games in various stages of development, some of which sound wild today. Godzilla, Goal, the soccer game, Vegas Dream, Adventure of Lolo.
Lolo, great puzzle game.
Games based on Fisher-Price toys, Kung Fu Hero, The California Raisins game, remember them?
Oh my gosh, the raisins.
Yes. Dragon Warrior, Monster Party, and Stealth Eagle. That list alone tells you so much about the late 80s gaming landscape.
And the Grumble Grumble Dept was relatable, where they reported on game delays. Ninja Gaiden, The Guardian Legend, Legacy of the Wizard, and John Elway's Quarterback were all listed as being pushed back. It's kind of funny seeing Ninja Gaiden listed as delayed right after they have this massive feature on it.
Yeah, that's timing for you. Page 96 has the NES Journal, which talks about AVG games, supposedly short for all video games. These were described as new home video games based on everyday activities that required skill and reflexes. They tease potential genres, including something incredibly specific sounding like Island Outside and Getaway Island.
And they mention what appears to be an April Fool's joke game called Mommy Kong, a clear nod to a certain famous gorilla.
Okay, now we arrive at what many would consider the most important section in the entire magazine back then. Classified information, spanning pages 60 through 68. This was a legendary section for secret tips, codes, passwords, glitches, and strategies submitted by agents, which were the readers themselves.
Before the internet, this section was gold. If you were stuck in a game, you flipped here first, hoping someone else had figured out the secret. They have Bionic Commando tips, including how to swing through tough spots. They have the stage select code for Golgo 13.
There's a continue code and tips for finding the hidden bonus stage in Hudson's Adventure Island, something we just talked about being crucial for energy. Information on finding alternate endings in Operation Wolf. The code in Spy Hunter to get a car loaded with extras right away. A stage select for Zanak. Strategy tips for navigating levels in Wizards and Warriors.
A tip on finding a hidden weapon in Double Dragon. Strategies for navigating Skate or Die. Shortcuts in Urban Champion. This section was packed.
And crucially, because it was such a difficult game, it had several pages dedicated to Zelda 2 strategies. Tips on how to effectively fight the tough Iron Knuckle enemies. How to find the invisible elevator in a palace to skip sections.
And get this, an experience transfer trick for Zelda 2. The magazine describes it as a way to boost a new character's level quickly. You need a character that's already leveled up significantly and saved their game. Then you start a new character, and when you reach the first palace, you perform a specific button combination using both controllers simultaneously, like A plus, B plus start and select on controller 1 and B on controller 2.
Whoa.
If done correctly, it brings up a screen allowing you to transfer experience points from the highly leveled character to your brand new one, effectively letting you start the game at a much higher level.
That is insane. Imagine spending all that time grinding levels in Zelda 2, then finding out you could use this trick from the magazine to power up a new save right away. That would have felt like breaking the game in the best possible way. This section wasn't just tips, it was the player community hacking the game and sharing their discoveries.
Absolutely. Finding a password, a hidden item location, or a game-breaking trick like that in classified information felt like you'd won the lottery. It completely changed the experience of playing certain games.
Beyond the major features, there were smaller sections that rounded out the magazine. The game directory listed pretty much every NES game available at the time. The Howard and Nestor comic strip, always a fun read. This issue featuring Nestor at the CES show.
Always love Howard and Nestor. The out-of-sight page had picture puzzles, Video Spotlight highlighted dedicated players, and the mailbox contained more reader letters not featured in the main players forum.
And of course, the back matter with subscription and order information. You could order back issues, the special tips and tactics books, or use the Tell a Friend promotion. If you got a friend to subscribe, you both became honorary members of Team Power and got a certificate.
Team Power! That is just peak nostalgia right there.
Totally. And the back cover had that iconic gold Nintendo seal of quality with guaranteed hot stamped on it, a promise of good gaming times.
It truly felt like you were part of something bigger when you subscribed and read these magazines, a real community.
We've navigated the pages of issue #005 of Nintendo Power. It gave us those deep dives into incredibly challenging popular games like Zelda 2nd and Ninja Gaiden, providing essential maps and strategies that were lifelines for players back then.
It showed us exciting previews for a diverse lineup of upcoming titles, from licensed blockbusters to unique genre experiments teased in Packwatch and video shorts.
And it solidified the magazine's role as a community hub and a vital resource, with sections like the Players Forum, the Player Voted Top 30 list, the NES Achievers, and most importantly, that goldmine of secrets and classified information.
The introduction of the power rating system and the Nintendo Power Awards to 88 marked issue 5 as a point where the magazine really matured, adding its own voice and celebrating the year's best games as chosen by the audience.
Looking ahead, the next issue preview teases more of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles deep dive, a continuation of the Ninja Gaiden guide, implying the game might finally be out or close to it, and a preview of the highly anticipated Mega Man 2. The hits just keep coming.
They really do. Each issue built anticipation for the next. You couldn't wait for it to arrive.
Thinking back on this issue, #5, with its focus on games like Zelda the Second and Ninja Gaiden and all those amazing tips, which game featured here was the one you remember most vividly, whether you loved it or hated how hard it was? And how much do you think reading magazines like Nintendo Power back then shaped your gaming experience? Did it guide you to try new games, or were those classified tips and maps the only way you got through some of the toughest challenges? It feels like these magazines weren't just reading material. They were essential tools for surviving the golden age of NES gaming.
They were absolutely essential tools. They connected players, shared knowledge, and amplified the excitement. It's hard to imagine that era of gaming without them.
Thanks for joining us for this Retro Rewind. We'll be back next time to explore issue #006.